Well, hi, Avdi.
Hi, Ben.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we are sitting together in my hotel room, which is why this probably sounds not quite like my mouth is up against a microphone. And Derek is MIA, or he's off doing Derek things. So we're here at Southeast Ruby, and we are in Nashville.
We just wrapped up the conference.
Mm-hmm. So I spoke this morning, and you spoke. I was the first talk, and you were the last talk.
That's right.
We get to bookend the final day of the conference. Mm-hmm. How did your talk go?
I think it went well. I really enjoyed it, and people seemed to like it.
Mm-hmm. What were you talking about?
I was talking about the value of avoiding code, and various strategies for avoiding the need to write code in the first place.
Yeah. What pushed you towards that topic?
Well, a lot of personal experience of building my business over the years. I think starting out as a programmer, or for a lot of my programming career, I've been about as code happy as any coder typically is. Mm-hmm. Always ready to just jump in and start writing code to solve some problem. But I've discovered more recently that there's a limited number of me, and I've realized as a business owner that I have to be extremely careful about where I focus my efforts, and the leverage of what I do. I have to really, to succeed, I really have to focus my efforts on the high leverage stuff and identify what's high leverage and what's low leverage. And a lot of times the code that we write is not as high leverage as we think.
Yeah, totally. I told you yesterday we were talking about this, that I feel like we wasted, I think wasted is probably the right word, like quite a bit of time writing like a custom Rails app for Upcase back in the day, when it was mostly just delivering content in a fairly straightforward way. Mm-hmm. You run a content business as well. You run RubyTapas.
That's right.
So screencasts on Ruby programming.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have explicitly avoided that mistake around.
Well, not at first.
Okay.
So, when I first put it up, I knew I had to get it together quickly, and so I used a hosted service. But they didn't have a lot of the features that I eventually wanted to have. And so for years, I thought that my long-term plan was I'm going to build out some software of my own. As I have time, I'm going to build up software of my own, and eventually I'm going to replace this hosted service with something that I build bit by bit. And what I discovered was that there's a lot of work to be done when you have when you're selling screencasts, and especially when you're trying to make it a really good experience and give people what they want. There's, you're handling subscriptions, of course, but you're also handling sending out the emails, and you're handling, streaming videos and downloading videos and posting the scripts in a nicely formatted way, and categorization and search and tagging and RSS feeds, and the list goes on and on. And what I realized after a while of working on this in my spare time is that really, if I wanted to get it done, it would probably turn into a full-time job, just writing this content delivery system and subscription management system. And that's not even to list things like, okay, we need to handle special deals for corporate teams and discounts and all kinds of stuff that goes into systems like that. And, I realized it would become a full-time job. The implication of that was that the show, RubyTapas, would become a show about building the website RubyTapas. Mm-hmm. Because that's all I'd be thinking about all the time. And that's not actually the show that I wanted to produce.
Right. Totally. I think there's so much hidden complexity that you don't see when you first think like, I'll just build a simple content delivery platform.
Simple, yeah.
I think especially around like subscriptions, for example, like people look at Stripe and they're like, oh, well, like, yeah, I'll just use Stripe, and then subscriptions are basically done. That's just like, one method call, and that you just create the subscription and then you're good to go.
Obviously.
And I couldn't believe how many times I was going back in the Upcase code base to like manage some edge case around subscriptions. There's this nasty disconnect where like Stripe has a database of what your customer's subscription statuses are, and you need to sort of mirror that data locally so that people can operate it on it from your thing. Right. And there were so many times, I can't believe how much time we spent on it. So I admire your restraint.
Well, like I said, I went down that route for a long time, and I finally had that realization, and I made myself a new rule, which was I will not write a single line of code to deliver this content.
Huh. And you stuck to that?
I did. I would allow myself to write code to import data into a new system. I would allow myself to write code for pushing episodes up from my own computer, from the formats that I had there, up to the site. Mm-hmm. So I mostly stuck with it. I think I might have written maybe a few dozen lines of code in like JavaScript for like tracking codes and stuff like
Sure,
that.
sure.
But what I did was I looked around at the options that were open to me and I settled on WordPress. Because, funnily enough, a system that is highly evolved to publish content to the web is really good at publishing content to the web.
Yeah. Huh. I feel like there are probably a lot of people that think they need fully custom solutions where WordPress is more or less the answer.
Yeah.
Like the right answer for them.
So something that I said in today's talk, which is probably one of the most contentious things that I said in that talk, or have said for a while, is I firmly, at this point, having sort of been on both sides of this question, I firmly believe that if your business has a significant content management component, so if you're publishing a whole lot of content, or if you're publishing news posts, or you're doing product listings, or some kind of portfolio, anything like that, and you're not using WordPress, you're doing it wrong. And by that I mean you are wasting either your own time and money or somebody else's. And there are so many reasons that this is true. Like I listed a few reasons in my talk, but then I had somebody come up to me after the talk and say, we were building our product and we were just 3 developers, but then we just brought on our first marketing person. And she was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could change the marketing pages without having to go through you?
Yeah.
And maybe we could use WordPress here. And they were like, oh, WordPress. But they went ahead and did it. And now they have and integrated it with the rest of their site. And now when the marketing person wants to do some new marketing initiative, the programmers aren't the bottleneck anymore.
Right.
And, she doesn't have to come to them and say, can I please have this thing? And they're saying it's working really well for them. And that was just a site with a few marketing pages. But some of the sites that I see, are really large-scale content publishing systems.
So when you made that decision to not write code to support the service, did it make it less fun for you?
No.
No?
No, because, I have so many opportunities to write code. There are so many places where I can write code that are available to me that opting out of one particular place is not really a big deal. And ultimately, the fun thing is effecting some kind of change in the world. And that's why we write code. And code can be a really high leverage tool for that, but it isn't always. So no, it didn't really change my fun level at all. As a matter of fact, I had a lot more fun because I was using this platform that let me very quickly plug in new features in a way that I never could have on my own. And just be able to delight people. It's like, you want an iTunes feed? I can give you an iTunes feed. Give me a few minutes.
Yeah. So you were dropping in WordPress plugins?
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to have a whole ecosystem of just things you can fire in there, as opposed to custom everything.
Right. Or in the Rails world, we have a lot of gems.
Yeah.
We have sort of a split between libraries, which require a fair amount of integration, and then SaaS services, which often also require a fair amount of integration, or else it's a very sort of flimsy connection between the two. And I think the plugin approach that WordPress has is kind of an interesting midpoint between those.
Yeah. Would you sort of summarize your talk by saying pay attention and don't reach for code as a default, but think about the fact that it is a liability, it has a downside, and if you can avoid it, you maybe want to? Yeah,
that's one of the code as a liability is one of the explicit points that I tried to hit on, because that's something that a lot of people have written about that over the years. There's been a lot of blog posts over the years talking about how code really does become a liability. And, that's going to be true of any code you write. And the question is, because it's going to be there, it's going to be a liability from a maintenance standpoint. It's going to be a liability from the standpoint of bringing new programmers in and from just making your system harder to change. The question is, this code that's inevitably a liability, is it worth it? And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's the code that's right at the center of what your product does. It's what makes it special. And that code, that liability is worth it. But then a lot of times you have code that's at the periphery of your system, and you're still on the hook to maintain it, but it's not worth it.
Right. Totally. I was just, as you're talking, I was thinking if everyone heeded your advice, or they heeded it more often, and built fewer features and wrote less code, the course I'm releasing soon would be less valuable. Because like the more code you have, the more work you need to do to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
Like every new feature is harder as you add another one.
Yeah, and this is why we need heavy duty refactoring skills, because we have these big code bases that we thought one thing at one time and then we thought something different later, and now we need to change them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Do you have any changes coming down the pike for RubyTapas?
Nothing big. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's not completely true. I have started filling the pipeline a lot more with guests. So this is something that nobody has seen yet, but they're going to start noticing soon, is that there are going to be a lot more guest episodes. I decided to really get myself in gear and really reach out and book people that I thought would have something interesting to say. So We'll have a lot more perspectives on the show. So that's going to be new.
That was kind of a dream that we thought of during the Upcase days. It was like, well, what if we didn't have to produce the content ourselves? How are you working that out with the people that are going to be making content for you?
Mostly I just reach out to people that I know, or people that, a lot of times they're people that already listen or watch the show. And I say, hey, would you be interested in making an episode for me? And they're like, sure.
Mm-hmm. And is it like a consulting thing, or are you just going to pay them straight up, you think? Or?
I usually offer a few options. I mean, a lot of times they're friends of mine or they're fans of the show, and they're just like, I'll just do it.
That's
I don't care. But what I say a lot of the time is, like, either, we'll do it one of two ways. Either I'm going to give you an honorarium, just flat, or I will work a deal that it's like, so I'll put all of the facilities we have at your disposal to make sure we produce a great episode together, and then I'll basically have an embargo on it for like 3 months or something, and and then after that, it's theirs, as well as I get to keep it in the library, but then they also get to use it for whatever they want to do. If they want to put it on their blog or use it to draw attention to some product of theirs or something like that.
Gotcha. So it's exclusive to you for a little while, and then, okay.
Yeah, and that's something that's worked pretty well. A lot of people have opted for that, because I'm able to help them produce something that they probably wouldn't have been able to produce on their own, because I've honed such a content production pipeline at this point, that I'm able to take a lot of the work off of them. And so it's not this daunting prospect of, like, I've never created a screencast before, let alone a highly polished one.
Gotcha. So you pointed them towards, like, use this tool, set these settings, send them the file when you're done?
It's a little less, like, there is some of that. There are some guidelines, like, I've, developed a lot of guidelines over the years of, like, how to set up your editor to be less distracting, and stuff like that. But a lot of what I do is delegated at this point. So, like, when I produce an episode right now, what I'm doing is I'm writing a script. So I have an idea of something I want to say, and I'm writing a script about it, which is basically a blog post that I then annotate with shot numbers. So it has the code right in there. I'm working out the code ahead of time, but it's also got all the prose that I'm going to be reading out as voiceover, and it's heavily annotated with shot numbers, and so I know, like, each small change that's made to the code has its own shot number. Then for most episodes, I then turn it over to somebody else to record the screen.
Really?
So I do not record my own screen at this point for most episodes, unless I'm doing something special that I want to do myself.
Interesting.
And I will, like, now sometimes I'll come up with the visual aids, and I'll do that myself, although I've also delegated visual aids in certain cases. I've had people do animations for me, or at least one case of that. I've had someone do some live action video for me. The screen recording itself is largely delegated to my screen typist at this point. So I turn that over to him, and I record the voiceover. I turn my voiceover over to my video editor. The screen typist turns over the raw shots that he's annotated with the shot numbers. Because we've got a video editor, we can both just put as many mistakes as we want in there. He can just do multiple shots, retakes until he gets a shot the way he wants it. All goes to the video editor. Video editor does a rough cut. Then it comes back to me, and I do a final cut because I'm super picky about, like, exact timing.
Yeah. Wow. It never would have occurred to me to, like, outsource the typing part. That's so interesting.
Yeah, I was very excited when I realized that I could actually do that. And a lot of thought went into that, and a lot of adjusting of workflows. And this is what I find kind of coming back to leverage, a lot of times I find that where you find leverage, new leverage in business or in making something, is realizing a way that you can change your workflow so that it works better with other people, or so that it can be split up better. And this is something that I think we often have trouble with, especially programmers have trouble with, because we tend to be very precious about our workflows.
Oh, for sure.
We tend to be very this is the way, a lot of times the excuse that I see people use for not using a service or not using some off-the-shelf software is, well, we need it to work exactly like this. And they're not willing to bend on how they work. And so the screen typist thing was only possible because I first figured out the process of assigning shot numbers to every change to the code, because that's what makes it possible for a video editor who really doesn't know anything about code to splice together the voiceover and the shots.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of blowing my mind. Were you as happy with the final product as when you were doing all the stuff yourself, like the typing yourself too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the way that I recruited my screen typist is I had, I have a lot of people that subscribe to the show, and some of them are more involved than others. And I had this one guy that every time I was late posting a video, he'd be like, "Hello."
Wow.
Did you miss? Is there not a video this week?
Uh-huh.
I jokingly think of it as hiring my most annoying fan. So I was like, this is somebody who really cared about the show.
Totally.
And, clearly cared about the quality of it. And so I, got to talking to him, and we worked out a deal for that.
Wow.
And what I was able to do then, since this is somebody who cared so much about it, is that I was able to slowly sort of transfer all of my tastes about how to record a video. I mean, and there's more to that than you might think. There's a lot of little details of what I think of as the screen performance that I've kind of developed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the cursor end up at the end of a change? That matters to me, because it's where your eye is going to be. Is the code you're changing in the center of the screen, or is it way up at the top or the bottom? I don't like it when it's way up at the top of the screen. I want the code that's being worked on to be right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Little stuff, but I was able to transfer all those tastes over to him, and at this point, often I realize that the way he has recorded something is better than how I would have.
Interesting.
And so that's the wonderful thing about delegation, and this is something that I actually had to cut out of this talk, but I really wanted to talk a little bit about delegation, because the thing is, code never learns unless you teach it. The code that you write for stuff, and I'm not sure I could have written code for recording the screen. Well, I had some ideas about that at one point, but when you delegate something, people actually get better at it over time, and their failure modes are really good. Human failure modes are great most of the time, because they can actually give you context, and they can maybe try a few things before they fall over and complain, and they can learn.
Yeah. No, there's no method error for humans.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you're working with. Some people definitely have no method errors.
Yeah. Huh. Does your screen typist use Emacs?
Yes.
Interesting. So I remember a tweet from you, from probably 4 years ago, that was people are always asking me, how do I get results piped into my editor in Vim like you're doing, assuming that you were using Vim.
Right.
And the answer was use Emacs.
Emacs, yes.
Yeah.
Now, and honestly, at this point, I would not care what editor he's using, but it happened to be that he also used Emacs just like me, and that made the process a little bit easier. And I really should give named credit here. So this is Federico Iacchetti, who's doing this stuff for me.
Okay.
And we've had a really good partnership there.
Cool. You're in the minority, I would think, as a Emacs user in the Ruby world.
Yeah.
I have actually been an Emacs user in the past. People assume that because I like Vim, I hate Emacs, just they assume that's that drama is built in. It's not the case. I used to do a fair amount of Lisp, and so Emacs is hands down the best Lisp editor that I could find.
Sure.
And I do, I wish I could program Vim in Emacs Lisp. I can just have an editor.
There's Spacemacs now.
What's that?
Spacemacs, so there have been Vim emulation layers in Emacs for a long time.
Yep.
But the Spacemacs project kind of took it to the next level.
Okay.
So it's built on top of, I think, Evil Mode, which is probably the best and most recent Vim emulation inside of Emacs. And then Spacemacs is a whole bunch of packages to build a whole modern coding environment in Emacs that are built on evil mode. So it's all done using the Vim style, like leader key and fairly sane semantic, key bindings and stuff like that. It's one of those like someday things for me. Like it's one of those things that like probably when I finally get around to learning Spacemacs, it's all I'll use. I just haven't gotten there yet.
That's actually kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, like Emacs with evil mode, which sounds like Spacemacs is sort of where I need to be going. Like if I can have the Vim modal editing and the efficiency, and then also have an editor that's built
Emacs
with beautiful
Lisp is so much. It's so nice to code
pieces. Then I'm pretty interested in that.
Yeah.
Although NeoVim, is it Lua? Is like the person?
Is it?
I think you can script NeoVim in Lua, which I haven't used, but I assume is a lot nicer than VimScript because I think everything is.
Yeah, Lua is. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward scripting language. The cool thing about the way Emacs, and I don't know how NeoVim is done. The way, of course, Emacs is done. It is Lisp pretty much all the way down. So like everything is written in Lisp except for a few special cases where it's optimized into C.
Right.
And the nice thing about that is that you can re-implement anything. Like
totally.
Everything, it's just a big soup that you operate in, and it's not like, oh, this stuff is off limits.
Right. Exactly.
It's a
Lisp
machine. All it is, it's a Lisp machine that happens to have had an editor written on inside of it, and you can rewrite it.
Totally. Yeah, I remember trying to figure out how do I get this behavior? How do I change this behavior in Emacs? And it was like override the function that gets called when you hit that key and change the behavior. And I was like, oh, you can just override the function? It was awesome.
Or you can add advice, function advice to it. So you can have something. You can add a thing that says after this system function is called, run this extra hook.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's amazingly flexible.
Yeah.
Now I'm not an exclusive Emacs user, but I do still use it a fair amount.
Yeah. So going back to RubyTapas for a second, I guess we're sort of still there technically. The early days, you were doing, I think, 2 screencasts a week was your publishing cadence?
Very early days, I was doing 3.
Oh my God. Wow. That's aggressive. That's ambitious. How long did that last?
I am not sure. I feel like it must have lasted maybe a couple of months or something.
Yeah. And did the people in your life tell you when we have to talk?
I don't know if it was that, but I think I told myself pretty much the same thing. And so pretty early on, I transitioned to 2 a week. Okay.
Is that where you are now?
And I am now at 1.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to be able to do a few more that were more involved. And it always, I would always punt on the more interesting episode ideas because it's oh, I don't have time for that this week. Oh, I don't have that time for that this week.
Yeah. Do you prep these in advance? Do you do a handful and then drip them out, or are you doing them on the fly?
I try to keep a pretty large buffer.
Nice.
So, and it's not always a buffer of complete episodes. I wish it was a buffer of complete episodes, but right now what I have is a buffer of semi-complete episodes. So they're at least to the point where they're kicked over to other people. And then they'll get kicked back to me before I need to put them live.
Did you have any pushback from people as you dropped the publishing schedule?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, but
I try to be really transparent with stuff like this. I try to explain, the commitments in my life and what's driving the decision.
Yep.
And people have been very, the last time I did it, when I went from 2 to 1, I got a lot of really nice email replies that were just you take care of yourself and you do what you need to do, and I'm going to keep paying you no matter what. So
that's awesome.
I would still subscribe if it was 1 a month. I got emails like that. So
that's cool. Really that's great. Nice. I think that's interesting. I think part of that is the Ruby community is comprised of good people overall. I seem to get a lot of nice emails. Yeah. But also I think that's your reward for being such a good person for so long. I think with a business like yours, people know who you are. You are the business in a way. Yeah. So they feel they have a personal relationship with you. And so if you're here's what's going on in my life, here's why I can't keep doing 2, it's not sustainable. They're I totally understand. It's not Microsoft saying this thing's going to change. It's this is Avdi. And yeah, man, if you need more time, take more time. Yeah. I think that's one of those benefits of being a small business owner.
Yeah, I try to make sure that the face of the business is me, and I try to be pretty transparent with the world.
Yeah, I would say you achieved that. So I saw a blog post. I was doing a little research before our talk, and you had this interesting blog post about how people view a quote-unquote side hustle versus an actual product business.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember writing this?
I do
This might
remember
be a little
writing
old
that.
now.
Vaguely.
It seemed like your gist was, if you describe what you're doing as a side hustle, everyone kind of views it in a sort of rose-colored glasses type of way, I guess. They're more forgiving about it, but the product business is like sort of less admirable in people's mind or something. Like after you've been working on your side project for a couple of years,
Right.
you're like, I still have to keep showing up and making money. This is for real. This is like for the rent now. This isn't just like a fun gravy thing over on the side
Right.
now. You seem to be venting some frustration with people who...
Yeah, and I think it was one of those cases where, and you're probably familiar with this, like, you can get 100 incredibly nice emails, and then you'll get one person complaining, and you'll think about it for days.
It's so hard to avoid.
And I think there might have been a little of that went into that particular blog post, because, yeah, when you say you're doing this thing on the side, everyone's like, yeah, rah, 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 go.
I should do that too.
And I think, thinking back, I think I got a very small amount of pushback when I was doing some of my email marketing. Mm-hmm. And I know for some people, particularly I'm marketing to the programmer audience, and they tend to be very allergic to that word.
Yeah.
And so I was sending out emails to my mailing list saying, I've got this, I forget what I was introducing, or it might have been a promo or something, but I got one or two people that were like, this is too markety for me. I can't believe you've sold out effectively. Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking about how when you're kicking off some kind of side thing, people tend to be extremely supportive, but what they don't realize is that you can't just be like, oh, can you support this thing at the very beginning? Like, you have to, when you run a product business, you do have to keep reminding people that you exist.
Yeah. Do you feel like you had any major lessons learned from the experience of running this business? Like, if you could go back and talk to yourself from a couple of years ago, you would say, just do this instead, or make these changes right now?
Surprisingly little. I think most of the calls that I've made, I'm pretty happy with. The stuff that I was talking about earlier with just not putting time into trying to reinvent the wheel with content publishing software. I probably could have learned that a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. And not worried about having to eat my own dog food as much. Going back further, I wish that I had started building my mailing lists earlier. I think that's sort of the universal regret of anybody who decides to start a business.
Totally. What about pricing? I remember you started off at a pretty low pricing level.
I feel good about that. I mean, it was sort of parity with other stuff at the time, and then times changed, and I slowly increased it, and I think that's gone pretty well. Yeah, I don't think I have any regrets there.
Cool. I mean, it's interesting. You started off, I think it was like $9 a month for 3 screencasts a week.
Right.
And now it's $30 a month for
one
or something?
There are two tiers, and so the highest tier is $35 a month for a bit more, in terms of both features and content, and then the lower tier is, I'm suddenly forgetting what it is.
Yeah.
It's.
So if I could tell you 3 years ago, like, hey, you could have these tiers and only do one a week, and you'll still be fine. You wouldn't want to know that? You wouldn't have want to change that earlier?
The question that I always think about with stuff like that is that actually true that I could have? I mean, I think I probably could have gotten away with the one a week at the beginning. I think that's true. I don't think that I could have gotten away with the pricing that I have now. I was much less of a known quantity at the time, much less of a proven quantity. At this point, people understand that they're getting something that is, has some very unique qualities. They're getting very polished videos that give you just like one idea at a time and are very focused, and people really dig that, and they really dig, the kind of insights that they get from it. But at the time, what was to differentiate me from anybody else who was charging $9 per screencast or $9 per month or whatever?
You're Avdi freaking Grimm. You use Emacs. Yeah, I honestly think more than one a week. I think even one a week is maybe too much. Like I signed up for a trial for a service because I was interested in learning some Elm, and I found like an Elm course, and they were like, we'll send you Elm stuff like every day. Or I think it was either 5 or 7 days a week.
Wow.
Was a new video. And I was like, hey, how the hell will you possibly maintain this publishing
Right.
schedule? Like, I just feel for you on an emotional level.
Right.
But I don't want a video every day. I don't think I can absorb information like
Yeah.
that.
And I definitely hear from a lot of people who say that they're very backlogged.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I also hear from a lot of people who are like, I watch this every time it comes out, and I look forward to the next one. So, it definitely seems to be, it takes all types, and it's hard to say at what point people would start saying, I wish there were more.
Yeah, it is tough. Maybe videos should expire. It's like you had 2 weeks to watch it. And then sorry, I removed it. I pulled it from your account.
Make that a lower tier.
Yeah, exactly. Expiring videos. And maybe you don't even make them. You just pretend that they were there. Save yourself a lot of time. If people wanted to hear more about you or RubyTapas, do you want to plug some links?
Well, RubyTapas is rubytapas.com.
Okay.
And I am slowly moving my online presence over to avdi.codes.
Okay.
It's kind of a recent thing for me. So
You have a few online presences.
yes.
It's like Virtuous Code.
Virtuous
and then
Code, that's eventually going to move under the new domain.
Okay.
It hasn't yet. It's currently at
Codes.
virtuouscode.something. Com, I think.
Okay.
Probably all of them.
Cool. We'll link up
yeah.
your myriad social presences then.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for being on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.